A moment when the country is flooded with propaganda. In the photo, the athlete receives a portrait of Adolf Hitler as an award. In 1942, a Chinese-American worker at a Los Angeles factory wrote on his back to identify himself as Chinese, not Japanese. High jump at the 1908 London Olympics. One of the most influential drug barons in history, Pablo Escobar, at Disneyland, 1981. A photograph from 2019 shows two Colombian soldiers giving a final salute as they free fall. The rope that was carrying them suddenly broke during an air show. A brutal experiment in the U.S. lasting from the 1930s to the 1970s. Over 600 African-American workers from Alabama were given placebos and arsenic, despite a known remedy for syphilis. The purpose of the experiment was to observe how African-Americans die from syphilis. A Gentleman's Set, 1640. Even if you're Winston Churchill, you can't just walk past a kitten. London, 1952. Professional silent mourners attended the funerals of any wealthy deceased in Victorian England, 1896. Their duties were simple: to silently and sorrowfully stand at the entrance to the house, holding a staff with a bow. Passers-by, seeing the silent mourners, would be overcome with the somber atmosphere of the funeral. Romania, 1946. Gypsies practiced healing backs by sitting a bear on them. Henry Ford with the first car of his own production, 1896. An old globe on an ostrich egg. It's about 500 years old. Republicans fight Democrats in a snowball fight at the Capitol, USA, 1921. Hyundai's founder paid for the shipment of 1,001 cows to his native village in 1998. He had stolen and sold a cow in his youth to buy a ticket to Seoul. Just 3 days after WWD ended, Soviet cipher clerk Igor Guzenko defected, leaking classified documents to Canada. The Guzenko affair is considered the spark that ignited the Cold War. Due to a pilot's mistake, supplies intended for a women's battalion were dropped. Southern Rhodesia, 1980. The next European war will start in Ukraine. A map published in Look magazine, USA, March 14, 1939. On April 1, 1915, in the midst of World War I, a French plane appeared over a German camp and dropped what looked like a huge bomb. The soldiers scattered waiting for an explosion, but none came. Instead, a large ball landed bearing the words "April Fools." Protests at the Miss America pageant, 1969. The sign "All women are beautiful" challenges societal beauty standards. The shoes of South Vietnamese Army soldiers who discarded their military uniforms to hide their status litter a road on the outskirts of Saigon, 1975. Crossbow arrows in the skull of a man who fell during the battle for the Swedish city of Visby, Gotland Island, in 1361. Hitler Rally, 1937. No gathering in human history had assembled as many people. A British doctor treats female concentration camp survivors for lice, helping them begin the long road to recovery. A moment when the country is flooded with propaganda. In the photo, the athlete receives a portrait of Adolf Hitler as an award. Beauties from the 1940s tried to save their skin from burns before sunscreen was invented. Leaders of the countries participating in World War II as children. Japanese samurai respected the practice of shudo, homosexual relationships between a young man and a mature man, believing it taught young men honor, aesthetic sense, and dignity. Love for a woman, conversely, was considered softening for men. In 1947 in New York, the body of Homer Collier, who had starved to death, was found in an apartment blocked by 100 tons of junk, underneath which his paralyzed brother was also discovered. Edward Smith, the captain of the Titanic. The voyage on the Titanic was supposed to be Smith's last before retirement. Queen Landing at Knebworth Park, where the band would play their last concert during Freddie Mercury's lifetime. England, August 9, 1986. Engineers and architects in the pre-computer design and drafting era, 1982. Los Angeles police stop an ostrich-drawn carriage for speeding, 1930. A man raised this bull and then sold it to the arena. The wounded bull recognized him among the hundreds of spectators and ran up to him seeking salvation. The man kissed him, after which the bull was killed. Spanish newspapers dubbed this the kiss of Judas. Punishment of a soldier of the Russian Imperial Army with rods in a rear unit for disobeying an officer's order, 1916. Nuns relaxing at a casino with slot machines, Australia, 1971. Adolf Hitler signs an autograph for a Catholic nun, 1932. An arrested Saddam Hussein, Iraq, 2003. In World War II, Ireland remained neutral, yet Prime Minister Eamon de Valera and President Douglas Hyde personally expressed condolences to the German ambassador on the death of Hitler. Jewish refugees aboard the ocean liner St. Louis returning to Europe after being denied entry to Cuba, the USA, and Canada, 1939. A ride on the metro, 1990. The beginning of the era of deception, a demonstration of inflatable bras, 1952. A German soldier next to a shell with the inscription, "I didn't want war," France, 1917. Stuntman Todd Green flies toward death, falling from an airplane wing. He was performing a complex stunt, transferring from the wing of an airplane to a helicopter during an air show near Detroit, USA, 2011. The Shanghai waterfront is filled with evacuation boats after the communist victory in China, 1946. An officer with his belongings, 1862. Freed slaves were considered contraband or captured property at that time. Animal experiments to determine the effects of being upside down for long periods in a NASA laboratory, USA, 1958. In the early last century, weight loss products were extremely dangerous. Pills containing dinitrophenol were sold. They prevented calories from turning into fat but caused lethal poisoning. 18-year-old Keisha Thomas protects a fallen man, suspected of having ties to the Ku Klux Klan, from an enraged crowd of protesters. Michigan, USA, 1996. A husband and wife and their 11 children dress for Palm Sunday, 1954. A black woman protects a racist from an angry mob, 1996. The death stairs at the Mauthausen concentration camp were the place where prisoners carried granite stones weighing about 50 kilo, c. 110 lbs, up 186 steps. Guards forced them to make up to 10 climbs a day, regardless of the heat or cold. Due to the exhausting conditions, many fell, dropping the stones on others, leading to injuries and deaths, 1943. Riots, 1960, Tokyo. In those years, Japan witnessed mass student group protests. The main demand was the closure of U.S. military bases. In London in 1911, the first escalator was installed in the subway, but many passengers were afraid to use it. To dispel their fears, one of the subway workers, William Harris, regularly rode the escalator up and down, demonstrating its safety and harmlessness. A sleep holder. In 1949, Dr. Ego Seeger from Vienna invented this device for railway travel. When the British jailed Gandhi in 1932, the nationalist leader continued to spin his own thread. Mahatma Gandhi called upon Indians to create their own textiles rather than purchasing British goods. During the grueling search at Ground Zero in 2001, rescue dogs began spiraling into depression because they were only finding bodies. To boost their morale, volunteers hid in the rubble, allowing the dogs to find living survivors and restore their spirit. Residents of East Berlin show their children to their parents in West Berlin. In 1931, Azubasu was discovered in Marrakesh, living naked in a cave and eating raw meat. The yellow press dubbed him the last Neanderthal, but scientists later linked his condition to microcephaly. Integrating black students will turn schools into jungles, interracial jungles, said a young Joe Biden in 1977. In the spring of 1933, thousands of Gulag prisoners were put on Nazinski Island without food to build a settlement. By summer, only 2,200 of the 6,700 had survived. There was famine and cannibalism, USSR. An awkward moment caught on camera. Germany, 1930s. A minute before execution, the harsh realities of war and inhumanity. The British lined up Muslims of India for refusing to fight against the Ottoman Empire, World War I, 1914. A newspaper seller selling the latest edition, 1939. Preparing a slave for sale, USA, 19th century. A Polish man and a German woman tied to a pillory of shame for having a relationship. The sign reads, "I am contaminating the race." 1991, Iraq announces a ceasefire and withdrawal from Kuwait. A huge column of soldiers was retreating to Baghdad, but President Bush ordered their destruction with bombers. 2,000 burned vehicles and the bodies of thousands of soldiers were left on the highway of death. A mother pleads with the police to return her son after he was arrested during a protest accusing the government of election fraud. South Korea, 1987. Photo related to HIV awareness by the CDC Historical Archives that was removed by Trump. Thanks. Tsutomu Yamaguchi survived the explosion in Hiroshima, left for work in Nagasaki, and 3 days later survived the bombing there too. Racist residents beat and expel black journalist Alex Wilson from their town. Little Rock, Arkansas, 1957. A Muslim family eating oak leaves during a famine. Russian Empire, 1921. These clocks found among the ruins now always show the time 8:15 a.m., the moment of the atomic bomb explosion in Hiroshima. Soviet T-34-85 tanks lining up before the Battle of Berlin, 1945. A clash between women and police in South Africa, 1962. The women destroyed and burned a brewery to protest police bans on home alcohol brewing. Oldest photo, 1826. 5-year-old Lena Medina, the youngest mother in the world, holding her baby shortly after birth. Peru, 1939. The steam vibrator. This is the world's first steam-powered vibrator, designed by American Dr. George Taylor in 1869. Dr. Taylor used it to treat female hysteria. Scottish physicist Robert Watson Watt was once stopped by a police officer for speeding, after which he said, "If I had known what you would do with it, I would never have invented radar." A few slogans from Richard Nixon's presidential campaign. Service at the Track restaurant in Los Angeles, 1950s. Food was delivered directly to cars via a conveyor belt. Mobile Confession, presumably USA, 1940s. Inflatable Bra, 1950. Farmers await the start of a slave market in St. Louis, 1852. Emperor Nicholas II blesses Russian officers going to the Russo-Japanese War, 1904. Russia lost this war dramatically and suffered enormous losses. A crowd tries to overturn a car with a black family during racial riots in the city of Clinton, USA, 1956. Patent sketch of toilet paper, created by inventor Seth Wheeler, 1891. Victorians loved morbid photography. Beheaded portraits with people holding their own severed heads were popular photo illusions in the 1800s. Advertisement for children's cocaine drops for tooth pain, instant effect and only 15 cents. The photo shows the corpse of Anna Maria von Stockhausen. After her death, she was tied up to prevent her from escaping the grave. According to folklore, Stockhausen was a witch who resurrected herself 5 times. A Canadian soldier says goodbye to his daughter before heading to war, World War I, 1914. A destitute family during the Great Depression living in a landfill, Illinois, 1939. This is exactly how toilets were designed in the Middle Ages. Stubby, the most famous war dog of World War I, and the only dog to be promoted to the rank of sergeant. The last day of gold distribution by the government, China, 1949. Prayer for peace, 100,000 monks praying, Thailand. The oldest documented joke in history belongs to the Sumerians and dates back to around 1900 BC. It goes, "Since time immemorial, it has never happened that a young wife did not pass gas in her husband's embrace." Trump is a chump, an anti-Trump rally by the Nation of Islam in front of Trump Towers in 1988. The burning of a village whose inhabitants were suspected of collaborating with guerrillas. Vietnam, 1968. Luftwaffe Obergefreiter hides his face in shame after surrendering. Belgium, 1945. 2 brothers from West Virginia who fought on opposite sides of the American Civil War in 1910 sparked a reaction. Whether good or bad, I'd love to read your comments below. Get ready for the next installment very soon. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss out. Catch you later.